Metal Jesus, and I'm back again with Kinsey.
Hello, and today we're here to talk about Mario Hidden Gems.
What? Is there such a thing?
Hell yeah, there is.
All right, so I'm going to start off with a game I think is pretty rad. I was really excited when I first got it. Played it a ton, and you never really hear about it very much.
That's true.
And that is Mario versus Donkey Kong on the Game Boy Advance.
Oh, it's so good.
This is so good. So, how do you describe this game? It's like it's like a platforming puzzle game, really.
It's very cool, and it's not the first of its kind for Mario games, actually.
I know. When you mentioned this, I was like, what? No, this is the first I'd ever heard of it. Then you brought over this box.
Oh, Mario and Wario. It's wonderful. It's a puzzle game, and it seems like kind of a simpler version of Mario vs. Donkey Kong.
On the Super Famicom.
And you use the mouse.
Yes.
And you have to kind of click ahead of your character who has some sort of object over their head because Wario's a dick. And at the beginning of every level, he drops like a bucket or a pipe or a squid.
And it's just cool to play with the official Nintendo mouse. I mean, how often do you do that, right?
It's pretty rad. It's like, this is Mario Paint.
Yeah, and actually watching you play this, we got kind of into it. We're playing for quite a while. It was very addictive.
Yeah, it's so much fun, and the levels get progressively way harder.
Now,
really quickly.
Now, so we started off by talking about the Game Boy Advance version of this, but there's also a DS version.
Yeah, Mario vs. Donkey Kong 2, March of the Minis is on the DS. It's also fabulous.
And was it a physical release, or was it just through the store?
It's a physical release.
Oh, is it?
And Pauline's in it as well.
I need to get a copy of that. That's awesome. Another game I'd never heard of until you brought it over here. That is Fortune Street for the Wii.
Yep. It's kind of a play on Mario Party meets Monopoly.
Yeah.
And it gets really in-depth really quickly. You have to buy properties and buy stocks, and you have taxes and...
Yeah, you're basically buying stores, and you have ownership of that square, and then you basically are collecting whenever someone lands on it. And we were playing on easy, and we were like, what the hell is going on? Like, the rules are already fairly complex, right?
Yeah, and that didn't even include, like, the stock exchange or the tax collectors and, like, all of this other stuff that you can add to the game. But
it's really awesome, right? We got sucked into this one, capturing the footage, and it was pretty awesome.
It's pretty fun, and I don't think a lot of people have played it either.
I'd never heard of it. I mean, and I'm always looking out for like really kind of unusual Wii games, and so this is a kind of a cool one.
It's definitely one of them. And one thing I really like about it is that it combines Mario and Dragon Quest characters, because it's a Square Enix game. Yeah, which is pretty awesome that I can play like a Mario Party game and be a slime or a Platypunk.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's cool. Next up, I'm going to go here. This is a game that you were all about. So what's this one?
So this is Mario Land 2 and the 6 Golden Coins. It's my favorite Mario game ever. It's on the Game Boy, and I played it for hours upon hours upon hours upon hours. And it's the debut of Wario as well. He's like the evil mastermind behind everything, and you have to have 6 golden coins to unlock his palace, whatever. And some of the power-ups in this are also awesome. This is the one with the bunny ear power-up where you can glide.
You know, one of the first things that I noticed about this was just how much of a full-blown Super Mario game this is on the original Game Boy. I mean, it's like, I don't know if they packed in a bunch of stuff in here or what, but it's very impressive. Yeah,
the levels are wonderful. It has like the walk-around map like Mario 3 style. And the music's wonderful. The levels are super ingenious. They're all different, and I love it.
Yeah, we were having a good time playing that. So sticking with handhelds here, one that I wanted to recommend is Mario Pinball Land. So this is for the Game Boy Advance, and this is a really fun, colorful pinball game. Yeah, it's really fun. I'd actually never played it before until we were doing capture, and it was so much fun. It's funny how in the very beginning it like captures the different characters, puts them into the little pinball, and then it shoots them out onto the table. And what's cool about this is that there's a bunch of different power-ups, and you can travel to other different types of tables as well. So we were like in Egypt, and we were in like all sorts of other lands. It was actually really cool.
Yeah, and it seems to have lots of like little secrets as well. I was noticing with the doors you can open, and it was more in depth than I thought it was going to be.
Now the pinball physics aren't really the best. I mean, it's definitely those kind of like bouncy, kind of arcadey sort of pinball effects, but it's fun. It's fun.
It's super fun, and it's Mario themed, so deal.
So next up, I'm gonna move on to the CDI. So Kinsey has a CDI, and you have one game for it.
I have one, soon to be more.
And that is?
I have Hotel Mario. And it's funny because I was actually looking up some things for something else, and under the list of worst received games, this happened to be one of them.
You know, and I have a bone to pick with that because you and I played this, and we were capturing footage, which you're seeing here. We were having fun. I mean...
It's a lot of fun. It's so different. It is kind of a game about closing doors, but, I mean, it's so different from any other Mario game out there that... I mean, it's great in my mind, just for that reason. And the cutscenes are hilarious.
They are. Yeah, they're awesome. But also, I mean, what's really interesting about it, you can tell that Nintendo did not make this game because, like, we were discussing the jumping mechanics, where they take a little bit of time to get used to because they're I mean, I hate to say it, but they're more precise, but they're definitely, there's a different feel to it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it looks great as well.
Yeah, it definitely did. Definitely did. All right, so next up, a GameCube game that you brought over here, and you were kicking ass in when we were capturing footage.
It's Super Mario Strikers.
Yes.
It's wonderful. It plays like, I mean, I used to play soccer, so this is amazing to me. And the way the game works is great. And they did another one on the Wii, which was slightly more popular, but...
You didn't like that one.
I didn't like that one. The power-ups in that are ridiculous. No soccer game ever has like 20 to 50 points. Come on, guys. Like, seriously. So this is... It's so good.
Yeah, yeah. It was fun watching you play this because, I mean, it's definitely... There is a little bit of that Nintendo edge, you know, where you can kind of, you know, charge up your attack, or not attack, but, you know, your shots, your goals. But it definitely also feels more like a traditional, you know, football, soccer game. I mean, it was awesome, right?
It's really well done, especially just as a, I mean, even taking out the Mario aspect, it's very well done. And putting Mario in it, deal.
Yeah, very cool. So next up on the Virtual Boy is a game that, I was like, if you have to own a Virtual Boy, well, if you don't have to own it, but if you are lucky, if you're lucky enough to own a Virtual Boy, you need to own Mario Clash. So this game here is a really interesting take on the very first version of Mario Brothers back in the arcades, where you were on this, in the original you were on this like 2D plane, and you basically bumped, they weren't even Goombas at the time, right? They were, I don't even know what the hell they're called, but the turtles and all the different creatures, right? You bump from below.
Yeah.
What's really cool about this game is it takes the 3D aspect of the Virtual Boy, and it adds a lot of depth to it. So you're going back and forth in the playing field, and it's really fun. I mean, this game I've spent a ton of time playing. I have a blast. This is one of my favorite versions of that by far.
Yeah.
So as long as you can get past like the Virtual Boy red that goes on, you know, with the visuals, but it's part of its charm. But
you always feel so awesome when you're playing a Virtual Boy.
Oh yeah, when you're kicking back and then, you know, you can't see anything else in the world. It's definitely really cool. So one of the few games I think on the Virtual Boy that's a must own. Next up, this is on the Game Boy Advance. It's Mario Tennis Power Tour. Basically, this is by Camelot, who made what other games did they make? We looked it up.
Fire Emblem.
Oh,
is that it? Yeah.
No, it was Golden Sun.
Oh, Golden Sun. No, we actually had this exact same conversation earlier. Yeah.
But basically, a developer that has done a bunch of really awesome RPGs, they bring those talents and bring them to tennis. And it was funny because when you and I started capturing the footage, I mean, we're talking about a full-blown RPG in the very beginning with like lots of characters to talk to, with lots of dialogue, your training, and then when we finally got it to tennis part.
Yeah, it takes a while. It's very RPG in that quality.
But one of my friends, Jason Heine, I mean, he swears by this game, and I think if you get into it and you're really into tennis, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and the tennis is pretty challenging in it as well.
Yeah. Even in the training levels, it was pretty funny. So, next up.
All right, next we have the Mario Golf. And we played both of them. We played the Game Boy Color and the original Game Boy.
Right.
And I gotta say, the Game Boy Color one, I think it was a little bit better.
Now, you played this when you were younger quite a bit, right?
Yeah. It was an entire camping trip. It was great.
Was that the only game you had, or was you just like sucked into it?
That was the only game I brought with me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would say if you're to choose one or the other, definitely the Game Boy Color. It just had a little bit more dynamics to it. It was easier to get into without the manual. Let's put it that way.
Exactly.
For the original one, we were like, what do we do? Like, we couldn't even figure out how to do the map. It was like really pathetic, right?
A little bit, but I mean, we enjoyed both. But I'm gonna say the Game Boy Color one is the winner here.
Definitely.
All right, guys, well, that's a quick look at some of the Mario hidden gems that we found, and I think we did a pretty good job.
Yeah, we looked through quite a few. There's 200, actually there's over 200 Mario games released. And so we understand that, yeah, I mean, some of these games you've heard of, obviously, but, you know, it was fun to come through and try to find some of the lesser known ones, you know, that no one talks about.
Yeah, definitely. And we have a few honorable mentions as well.
Of course.
And the first one I wanted to go with was Mario Sunshine.
Yes.
The reason I didn't want to include it is because it is kind of the definitive Mario game on the GameCube, so it's not hidden.
Right.
But I feel like it gets a lot of crap, and it's actually a very well done. I really enjoyed it a lot. Yeah. It's a very good game.
I mean, it's definitely a must-buy if you own a GameCube. It's like, hello, right?
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah. Now, you also mentioned, what was the other one? It was...
Mario is Missing.
Mario is Missing. Now, is that a PC game, or...?
It is. So it also came out on the Super Nintendo.
Okay.
But the thing is that the one on the Super Nintendo is not as good as the one on the PC. The one on the PC has way more locations. It's almost, it reminds me a little bit more Carmen Sandiego with all of the...
Which I love.
Yes. With all the locations that you can go to. And the PC one is so much better than the Super Nintendo version. It's crazy.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah, you rarely hear about that game, so...
Yeah.
I actually, is it expensive? Is it hard to find? I have no idea.
I don't know. I would assume it's probably not.
It's a PC game though, so it's kind of unusual for a Mario game to be on PC. It's the only one I think I know of. I mean, that's kind of weird.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's probably hard to find the box, but one day.
And then the final game I wanted to mention, Alleyway. So definitely a very common game for the Game Boy, but what's interesting about it is that it does star Mario. So Mario kind of gets out in the beginning, hops into your little paddle, and then also there's a bonus stage where you're breaking through Mario Brick.
And that stage is really fun.
That stage is really fun. I mean, it's actually a pretty decent little Breakout clone, but it's just not as good as like Arkanoid, so
right.
You know, definitely. Well, hey guys, love to know what you think down in the comments below. I mean, are we crazy for doing a Mario Hidden Gems video? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think this needed to be done.
I think so as well.
Yeah.
And we picked some great ones, so.
Yeah, definitely. All right, I want to thank Kinsey for coming on.
Of course.
And I want to thank you for subscribing to my channel, and take care. Hey guys, if you like this video with Kinsey, well, I happen to have a bunch more on my channel that are pretty interesting, including some that we compare Japanese versus US game covers for the Super Nintendo and the N64. Check them out.